Hello, my name is Cid Alcazar. We're Group 4, and our teams are Kaia Podd, Rhianna Salem, Miao Chen, Leonard, and myself. Our team chose the movie Mean Girls to analyze it through the lens of culture and organizational behavior. In organizational behavior terms, culture is the shared system of values, beliefs, norms, symbols, and rituals and practices that shape how people behave within a group. At North Shore High, high school culture is centered around popularity, appearances, power, and status. This culture is maintained through unspoken rules, peer pressure, and fear of exclusion. There is a dominating in group, the plastics, who set the tone of what is acceptable and who holds the power. At this school, there are cliques that define your identity. There is even a cafeteria map that divides everyone into groups. Let's go for it. The cliques are random. They reflect a very real social hierarchy. The plastics are at the top, and they also have their own set of rules. These are not official rules, but everyone in the school knows them, and not following them has consequences. So, how are these rules enforced? They are enforced mainly through gossip, peer pressure, and fear. The Burn Book is a perfect example of how the plastics have the power to control and judge others without even confronting them directly. Even the members of the plastics have feel this pressure. What's interesting is that adults have little to no power in this culture. Teachers and parents barely influence the culture because it's the students who set the rules and enforce them. So, what happens when the rules get broken? Eventually, the culture starts to crack. Katie, who used to be an outsider, becomes popular and starts acting like Regina. When the burn book gets exposed, everything blows up. The school breaks into chaos, there's fights, there's broken trust, and eventually everybody starts showing how they really feel. One of the teachers tries to reset their culture by having them do team bonding exercises. By the end of the movie, their culture has shifted. It's not perfect, but it's definitely different, and people are less afraid of each other and they feel free to be themselves. So, what's the takeaway? This matters because this school reflects what we see in real life, in school, at work, even within friend groups. Everybody follows this culture, sometimes in hierarchy. I'm gonna let one of our teammates take over and continue going in depth in this presentation. Thank you.
Okay, I'm Tom, and I'm going to be sharing on individualism and group loyalty in Mean Girls. Uh, I think this is a very important topic in this movie. It's probably the most prevalent, just because you see Katie come in from South Africa, obviously, isn't used to the American high school, and she comes in looking way different than everybody else. That's why she gets made fun of and bullied a little bit. But obviously, she is her own individual when she comes in. And then over the course of the movie, you see her becoming part of this Regina George, group called the Plastics, and she loses all sense of her individualism. You kind of see it; it's like almost a bell curve. It goes up and down towards the end. So I think this is something that you really see very prevalently in the movie. Um, the thing about the plastics is they have very specific rules. In this picture, it's during the lunch scene. You see Gretchen and Karen kind of explaining the rules to her. I put it in quotes. You can't wear a tank top on. You can't wear a tank top 2 days in a row, and you can only wear your hair in a ponytail once a week. Um, Obviously, these rules have no greater meaning. They don't mean anything. It's just Regina putting random rules on people so that she can control them. She can keep them conformed, and then people can't really stray outside of these rules. So it's just to make everybody the same. They all dress the same. They all talk the same. They all act the same. And that's the danger with group loyalty. And I think the movie does a really good job of showing this. Um, Regina rules this group. She makes all the rules, and her followers follow it. Don't question it. And that's kind of the biggest thing about group loyalty and groupthink is nobody really questions the rules that they're following or any of that stuff. So yeah, we'll move on. Katie faces the pressure, as I talked about, of group loyalty. She's trying to fit into a new school. She ends up kind of giving into it, and you'll see that in one of the other slides that I have here. She gives in, becomes one of the plastics, and this is just her trying to fit into a new social scene, make friends. Obviously, doesn't want to be bullied, doesn't want to be made fun of or be an outcast, so can't really blame her for falling into that. As I mentioned, group loyalty completely destroys individualism. That's the main problem with it, is individualism brings in new ideas, new people, different cultures, different ways of thinking. And when you don't have that, as you can see in the movie, Gretchen and Karen are really, really good proponents of this, is they just completely blindly follow Regina. They don't question her poor decision making. It leads to the group making poor decisions, and it kind of just gets everyone into trouble. So this is that photo I was talking about. Here you see on the left, this is her first day in the school. She is wearing a flannel. Her hair looks way different than everybody. And then you see in the middle, this is when she started hanging out with the plastics. So she's trying to fit in. She's wearing pink, but like obviously the outfit didn't really match with what they were wearing at all. So she's trying. And then on the right, you see like she's kind of fully lost her individualism and has become part of these like quote unquote the plastics. So you see that here, the full cycle of her coming in as an individual and then kind of falling victim to this group loyalty that Regina set up at the school. And then right here, just to touch on why individualism is so important. I think we lose a sense of why it's so important a lot. We go into work, we go into these school groups or social groups, and everyone kind of acts the same. And we like to be around people who act the same and think the same. But having your own individual thoughts and things to provide is super important. I said right here, so individualism can lead to more conflict in group settings, which some people may see as a negative. But overall, this is actually a positive, because when you don't have these conflicts, people just blindly follow. Like we see in the movie, everybody blindly following Regina because nobody wants to step up to her, nobody wants to conflict with her ideas or her rules, or maybe wear their hair in a ponytail, so stuff like that. And if the plastics had brought their own sense of individualism to the group, they could have been more inclusive to the rest of the school instead of just being like this little super exclusive 3-person group that everyone wanted to be a part of but couldn't be a part of. So they could have been more inclusive to other people. They could have met other people and probably learned more about other people. They could have opened their minds up to new ideas and new people. And also, if they hadn't been following this so blindly, they would have had a lot more self-worth in themselves, because they wouldn't just be blindly following what Regina tells them to wear and what to say and how to act. They could actually express their own styles, their own opinions. I'm sure if they had the chance to, they probably wouldn't be dressing exactly like Regina. They would be kind of having their own style, and that's what makes a group so important, especially at work. Bringing new ideas in and having a wide array of people so that everyone can kind of contribute, and maybe there's going to be a little bit of conflict sometimes, but it's just going to help everybody push towards the greater goal and hit their target in the end, instead of one person telling everyone what to be and you go down one path and that's it. So yeah, that's my section.
Hi, my name is Miao, and I will discuss the topic of power and hierarchy. In Mean Girls, the idea of power and hierarchy is really easy to see when we look at the plastics. We have a clear social ladder, and Regina George is at very top. She makes the rules, like wearing pink on Wednesdays, and the rest of the group follows them without question. This is an example of what's called high power distance, where people accept that some have more power and influence than others. In the movie, if Regina says something, it's taken as the final word, even if it's unfair or silly. Gretchen and Karen rarely challenge her because they want to stay in the in-group. We also see the opposite in the other groups at North Shore High, like mathletes and art freaks, where there is more equalities. These groups are more like low power distance cultures, where everyone has a say and no one person dominates. The power hierarchy in the plastic affects the whole school. Everyone knows who they are, and other students change their behavior when the plastic are around. This shows how a strong hierarchy can shape the culture of a whole environment, whether it's a school, a workplace, or even a company. In the end, when regional control starts to break down, we see how removing the top leader changes the way people interact. Rules get looser and the power is shared more evenly. That shift shows how much influence hierarchy can have over group's culture. Now I will pass the presentation to Rhianna. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Rhianna Salem, and I will be discussing strict versus loose rules theme in relation to the Mean Girls movie. In Mean Girls, the strict versus loose themes can be most clearly shown through the plastic's unwritten but very specific social codes, like only wearing pink on Wednesdays, no tank tops 2 days in a row, and you can only wear your hair in a ponytail once per week. These rules create an exclusive culture where belonging truly depends on strict conformity, and breaking them risks social exile. The rules are arbitrary, but they're enforced because they maintain the group's hierarchy and identity. Everyone wants to fit in and be a part of the plastics, and these rules are how you do that. The idea connects to business management because organizations also set strict rules, some formal, such as written policies, while others are informal, such as company culture, dress code, as well as social norm. Strict rules can help to create structure and consistency, but they can also limit creativity and make employees feel restricted. Loose rules allow for more flexibility, but they can cause confusion and inconsistencies if expectations aren't clear and set. In both the movie as well as real businesses, leaders must find the balance between structure as well as flexibility. Too many rules and strict rules at that, such as the plastics clique, can lead to exclusion and resistance. Too few can result in chaos and lack of shared identity. Effective managers know when to enforce strict rules and when to adapt to allow for creativity as well as fostering a positive work environment. Thank you.
I'm going to talk about how North Shore High is an organization and the different levels of culture within that organization. Students at North Shore High have these implicit and explicit associations that they have grown up with, and they tend to really value beauty, popularity, attention from other students, and attention from the other gender. They don't really value kindness, academic achievement, or individuality, and they have students that they look up to and want to emulate, and students that they look down upon and kind of tend to harass because of all these social pressures. Because of these social pressures and the idea that they need to fit in, belong, and have a group identity, they tend to self-select into very one-dimensional groups that take away their individuality. Katie, the protagonist, starts out valuing individuality and not really holding these cultural beliefs that everyone else does because she didn't go to public school before this and comes from a different country. But she's pressured into having these beliefs and acting in a certain way because of the school overall, but because of two students she meets, Janice and Damien, who exist outside of the groups. They exist as individuals, but they still hold the same beliefs that everyone else does. So they pressure her into acting a certain way and changing herself to fit in, which has disastrous consequences. Now, there are different groups at the school, and they all have different perceptions of each other. Some are kind of up in the hierarchy and considered the best groups that students want to be part of. They're popular, they have all the things that everyone values, and some are not. They're considered kind of lower, and they don't have the things that people value. The plastics are an example of the group at the top of the hierarchy, these beautiful, rich, popular girls that everyone wants attention from, all the guys like them. And then the mathletes, although they are high academic achievers, that is not valued at the school, and they're not popular, they're not considered good looking, and they don't really get attention from other students in any way. So overall, the environment of the school is very tumultuous. They don't really have anti-bullying education policies, and their policies aren't really preventative. They do try to punish students and fix the bullying problem, but they do this by creating a space where all the girls have to talk about other students bullying them in front of their own bullies. So they are not creating a safe space, and they are not solving the issue. Because of students' need to fit in, to be in groups, to take away their own individuality, to get attention from other students, and to have students to look down upon in order to feel better about themselves, this causes lots of fighting, lots of conflict. They fight with each other and they are enabled to fight with each other because there aren't really preventative policies telling them not to, and there aren't really even many punishments for bullying. They are motivated by extrinsic rewards like the Sprinkling Queen, where the girl who's most popular gets to stand on the stage and be crowned in front of everyone, and then the rest of them feel worthless. So I think this movie teaches us that whatever organization that we are a part of or find ourselves becoming part of, we need to hold true to our own beliefs and individuality and be kind to others and make sure that this organization has policies that make us feel safe, make us feel like we have a safe space to confide in people about, and that people who are making other people feel uncomfortable are punished and learn to change their behavior. Thank you.